Most people picture the Amazon as a beautiful green forest full of birds' rain and endless trees. But that is only the surface. The real Amazon feels older, darker, and far more alive than most of us can imagine. Here, the air is thick with heat and water. Storm clouds gather above the canopy. Thunder rolls across the treetops like the heartbeat of something ancient. Beneath that green roof, millions of lives are moving at once, hunting, hiding, climbing, feeding, surviving. This is not just a forest, but a living engine. A world so vast it shapes weather, feeds rivers, and helps keep the planet breathing. But the same place that gives life also takes it away without warning. In the Amazon, beauty and danger grow side by side. Every shadow can hide a hunter. Every branch can carry life or death. And that is the side most people never see. Not the postcard, not the fantasy. But the Amazon, as it truly is, wild, powerful, and almost impossible to conquer. A place where nature does not perform for human comfort. The living engine of Earth. And once you look past the beauty, you begin to see what the Amazon really is. The Amazon is not just the biggest rainforest on Earth. It is a living system, vast and restless, stretching across much of South America like a green body that never sleeps. Its rivers move like veins, its trees rise like towers. Its roots twist through dark soil like hidden wires, linking life above and below the ground. From the air, it looks endless. From inside, it feels even bigger, as if the forest keeps folding into itself with no clear edge, no final border. Every part of this place is working. The trees pull water from the earth and send it back into the sky. Leaves catch light and turn it into energy. Branches hold birds, insects, frogs, monkeys, and creatures still unknown to science. On the forest floor, heat, moisture, fungus, and decay break down fallen life and feed new life again. Nothing here is wasted, nothing stays still for long. Even in silence, the Amazon is busy. That is what makes this forest so powerful. It does not just hold life. It helps create the conditions for life. It stores huge amounts of carbon. It moves water through the air. It cools the land beneath it. It gives shelter to an astonishing number of plants and animals, many found nowhere else on Earth. The Amazon is less like a collection of trees and more like a machine built by nature over millions of years. But this machine is not made of steel or gears. It is made of rain, sunlight, mud, and breath. It runs day and night, season after season, without rest and without mercy. And the deeper you look, the more you realize something important. The Amazon is not a quiet background to life on Earth. It is one of the great forces that helps keep this planet alive. It breathes through leaves, moves through rivers, and speaks through storms. It mirrors everything, keeps the most precious memories of the ancient Earth. Rainflood and the forest that creates its own weather. If the Amazon is a living engine, then rain is the force that keeps it running. In most places, weather shapes the land, but in the Amazon, the forest also shapes the weather. Every day, billions of leaves release water into the air. That moisture rises, builds into clouds, and returns again as rain. In a way, the forest helps make its own sky. This is why the Amazon feels alive even above the trees. Warm air rises. Heavy clouds gather. Rain falls again and again, feeding the roots, the rivers, and the endless layers of green below. Some scientists call these great flows of moisture flying rivers because they move through the air the way real rivers move across the land. There comes the flood season, and the forest begins to change shape. Water rises high and slowly swallows the ground. Trees stand knee-deep, then waist-deep, then fully surrounded by dark water. In some places, fish swim between trunks and branches, moving through spaces that were once dry land. The forest becomes something else, entirely part jungle, part river, part floating world. And the strange thing is, this cycle does not destroy the Amazon. It feeds it. Floods carry nutrients. Rain awakens breeding seasons. Frogs call louder. Birds grow more active. Life answers the water from every direction. The Amazon does not simply survive the rain. It depends on it. And in many ways, it creates it too. That is what makes this forest so powerful. It is not just living inside nature, but helping control it. Predators of the hidden world. In the Amazon, danger does not always announce itself. It waits. It watches. And very often it stays invisible until the final second. This forest is too dense for long chases. there is little room to run, little space to see far ahead. So the most successful hunters here do not rely on speed alone. They rely on silence, patience, and perfect timing. They know how to disappear into the forest and how to strike before their prey even understands what is happening. On the forest floor, one predator stands above the rest, the jaguar. Heavy, muscular, and almost ghost-like in the shadows, the jaguar is built for power. Its coat blends with broken light and dark leaves, making it hard to see until it moves. Unlike many big cats, it does not always kill by suffocation. It uses one of the strongest bites in the cat family, strong enough to crush bone and pierce the skull of its prey. In a place where every second matters, that kind of force is deadly. And the jaguar is not limited to land. It moves easily through water-crossing rivers and flooded forest with calm confidence. It can hunt capybaras, deer turtles, and even caimans. Few animals in the Amazon are safe when a jaguar is near. It is not just a hunter. It is a ruler of the lower world where mud roots and dark water meet. But the ground is only one layer of this forest. High above, where branches weave together and sunlight barely slips through, another predator rules the canopy, the harpy eagle. The harpy does not look fast in the open sky like a falcon, but inside the forest it is something far more frightening. It can move between trees with control and precision, flying through narrow gaps with huge wings and powerful balance. Then, with almost no warning, it drops. Its talons are enormous, designed not just to grab, but to hold with crushing force. Monkeys, sloths, and other tree-dwelling animals can become prey in one sudden attack. One moment, the canopy seems still. Next, it explodes. Together, the jaguar and the harpy eagle show the true nature of Amazon predators. One rules the shadows below, the other rules the green darkness above. And between them lies a simple truth. In the Amazon, there is almost nowhere that is completely safe. Survival by stillness, sound and disappearance. Not every animal in the Amazon survives by fighting. Many survive by doing the exact opposite. In a forest this crowded, this noisy, and this full of danger, being strong is not always enough. Sometimes the best way to stay alive is to remain still. Sometimes it is to be heard from far away. And sometimes the only safe way to exist is to almost vanish. The sloth is one of the clearest examples of this quiet kind of survival. At first glance, it looks weak, slow, and completely out of place in a world filled with hunters. But the sloth is not trying to outrun anything. It survives by becoming part of the forest itself. Its slow movement makes it hard to notice. Its fur can hold algae, giving its body a greenish tint that helps it blend into the trees. Hanging high in the branches, barely moving, it can look less like an animal and more like a piece of the tree. That stillness is its shield, but stillness is not the only answer. In another part of the canopy, the howler monkey survives in a very different way. It does not hide its presence. It announces it. At dawn, its call rolls through the forest like a warning siren. Deep, rough, and powerful, the sound can travel for miles. The message is simple: this space is already taken. For the howler monkey sound is a way to avoid violence. By calling out, groups can mark territory without constant fighting. It is a smart strategy. In the Amazon, injuries can be deadly. A bad fall, an open wound, or a moment of weakness can quickly turn into death. So, survival is not always about winning battles. Sometimes it is about preventing them. Deeper in the forest, some animals seem to disappear completely. All across the forest, life has evolved to become hard to see. Insects look like leaves. Frogs blend into bark. Snakes rest so still on branches that they seem carved from wood. In a place where eyes are always searching, invisibility can be more powerful than claws or teeth. This is one of the great truths of the Amazon. Survival here is not ruled by one method. It belongs to those who adapt. Some live by silence. Some live by sound. Some live by becoming almost impossible to find. And in a forest where danger can come from above, below, or all around, that may be the smartest strategy of all. The engineers of the forest. The Amazon is often remembered for its hunters, its storms, and its creatures of the dark. But the forest is not held together by power alone. It survives because of builders. Quiet workers, seed carriers, pollinators, gardeners. Small lives and slow movements that keep the whole system alive. These are the engineers of the forest. Some of them do not look important at first. They are not fast. They are not feared. They do not dominate the food chain, but without them, the Amazon would begin to weaken from the inside. One of those hidden engineers is the tapir. The tapir moves through the forest with little drama. Heavy-bodied and shy, it often disappears into thick vegetation before most people ever notice it. But as it feeds on fruit and travels long distances, it carries seeds across the forest floor. Hours later, those seeds return to the ground far from the parent tree. In this way, the tapir helps new plants spread into new places. It is not just eating, it is planting the future. And in a forest as large as the Amazon, that role matters. Trees cannot walk. They depend on animals to move their seeds. The tapir does this work again and again, opening silent paths for the next generation of forest life. Then there are the leafcutter ants. To the human eye, they look like tiny workers carrying pieces of green above their heads. But what they are really building is far more impressive. These ants do not cut leaves to eat them. They carry the leaves underground and use them to grow fungus. The fungus becomes their food. What looks simple on the surface is actually a farming system. Beneath the soil, their colonies are like underground cities. There are chambers, tunnels, waste areas, nursery spaces, and organized labor. Some ants cut, some carry, some defend, some care for the young. Together, they create a society based on order and constant work. They shape the soil, move plant material, and recycle organic matter. In their own small way, they help the forest breathe from below. Another quiet engineer grows rooted in shade, the cacao tree. Today, people around the world know cacao because it gives us chocolate. But in the Amazon, cacao begins as part of a much older story. It grows in the dim lower levels of the forest where light is limited and competition is constant. Its survival depends on balance. Too much sun can harm it. Too little pollination can stop it from producing fruit. Life here works through connection. Besides, there is the boto, the pink river dolphin. At first, it seems different from the others. It does not plant seeds or farm fungus, just moves through the flooded rivers, not through soil or trees. But the boto is part of the forest's living balance in another way. In the Amazon, rivers are not separate from the forest. They are part of it. During flood season, water enters the trees and the boundaries between river and jungle begin to disappear. The boto belongs to this shifting world. It moves through flooded forests, channels, and muddy water feeding within the river system, and taking part in the flow of life that connects fish water levels and seasonal change. It is one of the clearest symbols of how the Amazon works as one connected body. Not land here, water there. Not forest here, river there. Everything overlaps. And beyond these famous examples, the Amazon depends on countless other engineers. Bees pollinate flowers, beetles break down waste, fungi turn death into nutrients. Vultures clean what others leave behind, termites reshape wood. Fish scatter seeds during floods. Every layer of the forest has its workers. This is the part of the Amazon many people never think about. A forest is not just a collection of trees. It is a network of jobs being done every hour of every day. Seeds are moved, soil is turned, flowers are pollinated, waste is cleared, new life is prepared. The Amazon survives because millions of living things are constantly building it, repairing it, and renewing it. Not with noise, not with glory, but with endless unseen work. Nature's nightmares, the brutal and bizarre side of the Amazon. There's a side of the Amazon that feels almost unreal. Not because it is rare, but because it seems too strange to belong to the same world as rivers, birds, and giant trees. In this forest, nature does not always look elegant. Sometimes it looks cruel. Sometimes it looks disturbing. Sometimes it looks like it was designed to test how much fear the human mind can hold. One of the smallest examples is also one of the most unforgettable, the bullet ant. It is not large, it does not need to be. What makes it famous is pain. A single sting from a bullet ant is said to cause agony so intense that people compare it to being shot. The pain can last for hours, sometimes longer, turning one brief moment into a long punishment. In the Amazon, even a creature no bigger than a finger can leave a grown human shaking. For some indigenous groups, this ant has even been part of painful coming-of-age rituals. That tells you something important about the forest. Here, suffering is not always accidental. Sometimes it is woven into tradition, memory, and respect. Assassin bug, a hunter so cold in method that its name sounds earned. It does not chase. It does not wrestle. It lands, pierces, and waits. With its sharp mouth part, it injects chemicals that break down the inside of its prey. The body softens. The tissues begin to dissolve. And the bug drinks the remains. There is no drama in the act, no struggle that lasts long. Just a silent process, quick and efficient, carried out by a creature many people would never notice. This is the kind of horror the Amazon does well. Not loud horror, precise horror. A different nightmare arrives on wings. The tarantula hawk wasp is one of those animals that seems to exist only to make the forest feel more extreme. Long-legged and metallic in color, it moves with confidence, searching for something most other creatures would avoid a tarantula. When it finds one, the wasp attacks with terrifying purpose. It drives in its sting, paralyzing the spider but not killing it. Then it drags the helpless body to a burrow, lays an egg, and leaves. When the larva hatches, it feeds on the living spider in a careful order, keeping vital organs for last, so the host stays fresh as long as possible. It is hard to hear that and not feel a chill. Nothing is wasted in the Amazon, not fear, not flesh, not weakness. Deep in muddy channels and flooded swamps, there is the green anaconda. This is not a fast killer. It does not need venom. It does not need sharp claws. Its power lies in mass patience and timing. Much of its body stays hidden under dark water, where shape and distance are hard to judge. You may not see the head. You may not see the coils. You may only notice a ripple or the faint movement of plants at the edge of a riverbank. Then it strikes. The anaconda grabs wraps and tightens. With every breath, the prey releases the coils, close more. Panic rises. Strength fades. Water splashes and settles. What looked like a quiet patch of swamp becomes the site of a slow, crushing death. In the Amazon, the deadliest force is not always speed. Sometimes it is pressure. What makes these creatures so unsettling is not only what they do. It is how perfectly they fit this place. The bullet ant turns pain into defense. The assassin bug turns chemistry into a weapon. The tarantula hawk turns another predator into food for its young. The anaconda turns still water into a trap. Each one feels extreme. Together, they reveal a larger truth. The Amazon is not strange by accident. It is strange because life here has been pushed, shaped, and sharpened for millions of years. Every weakness gets tested. Every advantage gets refined. The result is a world filled with creatures that seem bizarre to us but make perfect sense to the forest. That may be the most unsettling part of all. In the Amazon, the nightmare is not a mistake. It is part of the design. The Lost Human Amazon. For a long time, many people believed the Amazon was always a world of pure wilderness, vast, empty, untouched by human hands. That idea is powerful. It also hides a deeper story. Beneath the trees, under layers of roots, soil, and centuries of growth, the Amazon has been keeping evidence of an older human world. Not a few scattered camps, not only small bands moving through the forest. In many places, what once stood here was larger, more organized, and more complex than anyone expected. The forest did not begin when people disappeared. In some ways, the forest we see today still carries the shape of the people who lived inside it. That changes everything. From above, the Amazon can look endless and uniform, like one green mass stretching beyond sight. But when archaeologists began looking closer, patterns started to appear. Straight lines where nature rarely draws them. Mounds and earthworks too regular to be accidental. Traces of roads. Signs of planned settlements. In recent years, new tools such as LiDAR have helped reveal features hidden under the canopy, exposing geometric forms and networks that had stayed invisible from the ground. A place once described as empty now looks much more like a landscape with memory. Some of these ancient communities built earthworks in circles, squares, and broad enclosures. Others created connected settlements across large areas. In certain regions, evidence points to roads or causeways linking one place to another. This was not random survival. It suggests planning, cooperation, and long-term knowledge of the land. That matters because the old image of the Amazon often treated it like a place too wild for large human societies. Too wet, too dense, too poor in soil, too difficult to shape. But the people who lived here were not helpless inside the forest. They understood its rhythms. They learned its strengths. They found ways to live with water, with seasonal change, with limited soils, and with the huge demands of the environment around them. One of the clearest examples of that knowledge is terra preta, often called Amazonian dark earth. Much of Amazonian soil is surprisingly poor. To outsiders, that seems like a serious limit. Yet, ancient people created patches of rich, fertile ground by mixing charcoal food, waste bones, broken pottery, and organic material into the earth over long periods of time. The result was soil that could hold nutrients far better than ordinary tropical ground. This was not a simple accident. It was a slow act of landscape making. Terra preta shows something remarkable. The people of the Amazon were not only adapting to the forest, they were improving parts of it in ways that lasted for centuries. In some places, the dark earth still remains more fertile today. That means human knowledge did not vanish when those societies faded. It stayed in the ground itself. And the story goes beyond soil. Many researchers now think parts of the Amazon were shaped by generations of planting, tending, and selective use. Certain useful trees may have become more common near former settlements because people favored them. Fruit trees, palm species, and medicinal plants were not always left to chance. Over time, human choices may have changed what the forest looked like, what it produced, and how it supported life. So, the Amazon was not simply a wall of nature standing apart from humanity. In many areas, it may have been a cultural forest, a living environment influenced by people who knew how to work with it instead of stripping it bare. That idea feels almost modern, but it is much older than modern industry. The forest hid this history well. Wood decays, buildings collapse. Heavy rain softens the marks people leave behind. Vines climb over old ground. Roots crack through abandoned earthworks. After enough time, a settlement can become almost impossible to see unless you know what to look for. The Amazon is one of the few places on Earth where a lost human world can be swallowed so completely that later generations mistake it for untouched land. That disappearance was not only caused by nature. When Europeans entered the Amazon disease, violence forced labor and disruption tore through indigenous populations. Entire communities were weakened or destroyed. Knowledge systems broke apart. Trade routes vanished. Settlements were abandoned. Forest returned over places that had once held homes, gardens, roads, and ceremonial spaces. What looked like emptiness to later outsiders was often the silence left after collapse. That silence shaped the global imagination. It allowed the myth of the empty Amazon to survive for centuries. But the myth is breaking. What emerges in its place is far more interesting and far more human. Ancient Amazonian societies may not have looked like the stone cities many people picture when they think of civilization. They did not need to. Their world was built from earth, wood, water, fire, and deep ecological understanding. Their engineering followed the logic of the forest. Their survival did not depend on conquering the land in the modern sense. It depended on reading it correctly. That may be why this history feels so important now. Modern civilization often measures success by how much land it can clear, how much it can extract, how quickly it can transform a place into something profitable. The old Amazonian world suggests a different relationship. Human life was present, active and influential, but not always destructive in the same way. People changed the landscape, yet much of that change worked with ecological systems rather than against them. This does not mean the past was simple or perfect. Ancient societies had conflict limits and hard realities of their own. But it does mean the Amazon was never just a backdrop for wild animals and empty rivers. It was also a human homeland full of decisions, traditions, experiments, failures and achievements. That forgotten human Amazon adds a new layer to the forest we see today. Every hidden mound, every patch of dark soil, every old pattern found beneath the canopy reminds us that this place has held stories for far longer than the modern world first imagined. The trees kept growing, the rivers kept moving, rain kept falling, and under all of it, the record remained. So, when we look at the Amazon, now we are not only looking at nature, we are looking at the remains of ancient choices. We are looking at a forest that remembers people. And in many ways, that makes the Amazon even more extraordinary, not less wild, but deeper, richer, and more mysterious than the old idea of emptiness ever allowed. The forest under threat. For all its power, the Amazon is not beyond harm. From a distance, it can seem too vast to fail, too wide, too ancient, too alive to be broken by human hands. But damage does not need to happen everywhere at once. It begins at the edges. A road cuts into the trees. A section of land is cleared. Smoke rises. The canopy opens. Heat moves in. What took centuries to grow can disappear in days. The threat is not only one thing. It comes from many directions at once. Logging removes old giants that hold entire layers of life around them. Fires often started by people burn land that was never meant to burn easily. Ranching and farming push deeper into the forest. Mining tears into river systems and poisons water. New roads bring more machines, more settlers, more pressure. Piece by piece, the forest is forced to give way. And when part of the Amazon is lost, the damage does not stay in one place. A single cleared area can dry the ground around it. Fewer trees means less shade. Less shade means more heat. More heat means less moisture. The air changes, the soil weakens, streams shrink, animals lose shelter, feeding grounds and breeding space. Some move, some die. Some simply vanish before most people even know they were there. This is what makes the danger so serious. The Amazon is not just a collection of separate parts. It works as a system. If enough of that system is cut apart, the balance begins to fail. Rain becomes less reliable. Seasons grow harsher. Flood and drought can hit with greater force. The forest that once helped make its own weather may begin to lose that strength. And still, the Amazon keeps resisting. New shoots rise from damaged ground. Vines return. Birds cross broken spaces. Rivers continue to move through ash mud and fallen trunks. Life does not surrender easily here, but resilience is not the same as safety. A forest can fight to survive and still be wounded beyond repair. That is the real tragedy. The Amazon is not dying because it is weak. It is being pushed by a world that keeps asking more from it than it can give. And if that pressure continues, humanity will not only destroy one of the greatest forests on Earth. It will damage one of the living systems that has been quietly helping the planet stay stable all along. Most people will never truly see the Amazon. They may see pictures of green canopies, wide rivers, bright birds, and famous predators. But the real Amazon is far deeper than any single image. It is a living engine, a world of flood, and heat, silence, and violence, patience, and struggle. It is a place where beauty is rarely simple and survival is never free. It is also a place with memory. A memory of ancient life, ancient peoples and ancient systems still working beneath the surface. Every storm, every route, every hidden trail tells part of that story. The forest is not only full of creatures, it is full of meaning. That is why the Amazon matters so much. Not because it is exotic, not because it is distant, but because it is essential. It helps shape air-water climate and life far beyond its own borders. And if it begins to fail, the loss will not stay inside the forest. The side most people never see is also the side the world can least afford to lose.